Where is your heart tonight? The heart of the Lord Jesus was in doing the will of his Father. Is that your desire? Is that your desire above everything else on the face of this earth? Everything. To do the will of God. That's the first thing. Is that your desire? I was thinking tonight, just before I left the office to come here, meditating on what the Lord would have us to say, and I remember two experiences I had. First one, when I was about 16, I had an offer to go in a small 14-foot boat up to a place called Broken Bay. It was about 20 miles north of Sydney Harbour. I wasn't looking forward very much to that because we had a very nice 32-foot auxiliary ourselves on Sydney Harbour, and I spent a lot of time in it. But the offer was there was a 60-foot triple-screw cruiser that I could come back in with this man, a German, who looked after the boat, and a friend of mine. The three of us were to take a little 14-footer up and bring this beautiful 60-foot triple-screw cruiser back. So I was very excited. Well, we got into the little 14-footer, had a small engine, and you started it by pulling the flywheel back on compression, and then it would kick off, and away you go, just a small engine. So we got out, and it was summer, and there was a slight northwest wind blowing, which is normal for that part of the year, and we made our way along the coast. Well, about 11 miles up, about halfway, there is a very, very dangerous reef comes out from the mainland, and it comes out for about 1.5 miles, then it goes underwater for about another half a mile, then there are these jagged heads that come up for about another perhaps 3/4 mile. Mean reef. And it was noted by the suction of the waves that constantly beat on them, and they carved out caves so that if anybody was lost, and quite a few people were lost, you never saw them again. They were sucked underneath into those caves, and there they stayed. Had a terrible reputation. So we got on the windward side of Long Reef, and the motor broke down. Well, we very foolishly didn't have any oars in the little boat. Didn't have any oars. So we were in danger, but we thought we could get the engine started again. And I was over that flywheel, pulling it back on compression, and the gasoline from the engine came up, and I was a very sick boy, down into my stomach, but I still kept trying to start the engine, wouldn't start. And then we heard the breakers as they were roaring onto that reef. Must have been a low water. You could hear them like cannons. And we're drifting toward that reef. So this sailor, this German sailor, he's a very tough man. He put over we had one anchor, and it was attached with what we call coir rope, which is a waterproof rope, but it's very rough. It's a very rough rope. And so he put over the anchor, and it caught. And he had about 8 or 10 feet left in his hands, maybe a little more. And as the little boat would go down in the trough of the wave, he'd pull the rope in. And when it came up on the crest of the wave, he'd hold on. If that rope breaks, we're finished. We're about 30 yards when the breakers began to curl, just about 30 yards. Well, what did I do? Well, I was afraid. I was very much afraid. I was very sick, but I was very afraid. Why? Because I knew I wasn't right with God. I wasn't what you call a deep-dyed sinner, not involved with girls, not involved with anything really. Clean, living, young fella, but lost. And the amazing thing was, I knew it at that point. I was not right with God. And I knew it. Are you right with God tonight? Are you really right with God?